Welcome to the Defense Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian. Last week, we covered the Naval Submarine League's annual symposium and trade show in Northern Virginia. We caught up with Dick McNamara of RR McNamara and Associates, a retired U.S. Navy submariner. He talked to us about how small, innovative companies are helping innovate the entire submarine business.
My name is Dick McNamara. I'm a retired civil servant who had 40 years of civil service experience, pretty much all in the submarine community. The last 8 years of my career, I was the deputy program manager for the Virginia-class submarine, which is now in production, and the last 4 years was as the executive director of PEO Subs. Since then, I've been active in the community as a consultant, primarily working with small businesses and trying to channel them into the submarine community. Small business has always been part of the supply system to our prime contractors like Lockheed and General Dynamics and Huntington Ingalls as the ultimate customer for them. But I discovered a number of years ago that small business today has a lot more to offer than we often have allowed them to contribute. Using a program called the Small Business Innovative Research Program, we've been able to test drive a lot of small businesses literally from around the country and see how their innovations and technologies and skills can contribute to the success of the submarine community. It's been very successful, and we have a number of small businesses who contribute today. The opportunities is to help a program manager to want to get involved with SBIRs and small business. And the key areas there are risk reduction, because nobody ever has enough money for all the risk reduction they would need. So risk reduction, obsolescence solutions, technology insertion, and then second sources. Those are 4 areas that every program manager has that are rarely fully funded. SBIR and small business bring lower cost, agility, and responsiveness. You are their customer and they treat you accordingly. And that's to whether we're the Navy or whether we're the large primes. Emerging technologies I see are miniaturization through nanotechnology in electronics to reduce space, weight, and heat, combined with 3D printing to reduce cost of the production of those. I was recently in Boston and was amazed by what I saw along those lines, both from sensors and electronics. I've got a couple of good stories about how small business came to the rescue. In one case, we had a company called Progeny that won a solicitation of the Small Business Innovative Research Program to come up with the first step in cybersecurity for us, information assurance. And they have done a bang-up job for the submarine force and what we have, not just on Virginia class, but all submarines in the fleet, working with about 26 different subsystems and a number of different vendors. So they showed us that they had a good idea that was really usable across the board. Another company is Chesapeake Sciences in the sensors area. They have built towed arrays for the Navy for a number of years and were very successful in both the products and business. And they were ultimately bought by L3T Systems as a division of them, which we see this quite often with the very successful SBIR companies. DSR, Digital Systems Resources, was really fundamental to change in the way we have done business in the past and moved us into the commercial off-the-shelf open system architecture electronic suites with portable software and the ability to insert products from many different software vendors. Those are just 3 that come to mind. For small innovators who are interested in contributing to the submarine force, I would suggest and always recommend they get people who are subject matter experts, and the Navy Submarine League is an ideal place to get matched with former retired submarine officers who lived on subs, built them, and so that's the first step, so that their innovative technologies have a place. They have a context of where their product or process will fit. The second thing I would do would be to tell them to understand the fundamentals of acquisition so that they know how to compete successfully on a variety of programs, rapid innovation funds, for example, through some of the OTAs, other transaction authorities, and a variety of broad agency announcements. There's a lot of paperwork that you have to understand and comply with in order to be able to do business with the government. Most states actually have very well done outreach and education programs literally across the country. And I would suggest anybody who wants to get involved, get the subject matter expertise and spend the time with your state advocates for small business education. My big takeaways from this year's event is A, the enthusiasm that I always see, the recognition that we've got 25 years of submarine construction ahead of us that we cannot miss a beat on. We've got to continue to get the Virginia-class submarines upgraded and delivered with VPM, with the payload module, and concurrently we've got to get lead ship, the Columbia-class, done on time. So those two are the main thing that's going to keep us busy. The accessories, as I call them, of underwater unmanned vehicles and UAVs and USVs that we'll use, I think are great landing pads for some of the miniaturization technologies I mentioned earlier. So I see it being a very challenging opportunity for us, not just next year, but literally over the next 25. The one thing I would say is support small business. They are the backbone of America. They are the innovators. They are the people that make up good ideas and contribute to the big guys. No small business is ever going to build a nuclear aircraft carrier or a nuclear submarine, but they can produce and provide about everything that goes on it. The analogy I like to make is, think of an aircraft carrier as a floating city of 5,000 with an airport and an air wing and a maintenance support for that. And it's got hospitals and it's got a court system. And so anything that you can do in a town of 5,000 people on land is needed and used on a floating city. Submarines go to sea with much smaller crews, but the same analogy would apply. Think about what you have and what you need and what you use every day, and think about how that would be applied in a submarine.